Memories of Switzerland from a Goway Account Manager. The Swiss Alps don't just dominate the landscape, they define it. Yet for all its natural splendor, Switzerland is not wild. It is refined, and oh, the trains. To ride the Glacier Express is to trace a line through wonder. The cuisine, like everything else in Switzerland, balances indulgence with intention. Cauldrons of fondue best shared with laughter and crusty bread. Switzerland doesn't shout, it whispers. The song of a place that has nothing to prove and everything to share. Come and listen to the whispers of Switzerland. Hey there everyone, I'm Don, Professor Goway, and welcome to the GowayPro Travel Tale Podcast. Travel far and travel often. Hello everyone, welcome to the GowayPro Travel Tales Podcast. Today, as you heard by that very elegant, waxing lyrical introduction, we are here to talk about Switzerland. And I'm not talking to someone from Switzerland, but I'm talking to someone who loves Switzerland to death and who's just returned from Switzerland, and that someone is Jason Stratford. Jason is one of our account managers based in Vancouver, correct, Jason?
Correct.
Correct. Just bring the mic in closer to yourself, please. Like, kiss the mic, baby, kiss the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Jason, as you'll also hear, as I said, he's not from Switzerland. You'll pick up an accent, but it's an Aussie accent from the city of churches, Adelaide, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Jason's a very proud Aussie. And before working with Goway, you work with, is it
APT.
APT. I keep getting, for some reason, AAT Kings.
Nope.
No.
That was the opposition.
Opposition.
Yeah.
Well,
But thanks.
Big faux pas there. So APT Kings, and it's been with us for how long have you been with Goway now? A fair while, haven't you?
3.5 years, I think.
3.5, wow.
I think,
And
yeah.
you worked not for Goway, but
4
with
years.
Goway as when you were with APT, because we are still a partner in crime,
Yes,
in
very
travel
much.
crime.
Yeah, Goway sold the most APT product out of anyone, really.
Yeah, and we're still working with APT.
Yes, 100%, yeah.
Okay.
And AAT Kings, by the way.
And
I should
AAT,
mention that.
Yeah, should mention that, because you're now friends with them, because
That's
you're working
right.
with Goway, who's friends with everyone.
That's right.
And those two. But again, that's all Australia. We're here to talk about Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been to Europe. I have been to Switzerland a very long time ago. So while I can claim it as a country visited, I know nothing about it. And we're here to learn about it. So it's one of your favourite countries?
Yeah, absolutely. Love Switzerland.
Sorry, I just had a bit of a coughing fit. You've just returned recently, and I think we spoke probably a year and a half ago, where you went again and came back and were very impressed. So let's start with some bare basics for those who may not know. Switzerland is obviously Europe, but where in Europe is it located? What surrounds it? Who surrounds it? More to a better point.
Yeah, I mean, it's surrounded by France, Germany, and Italy. So it's right there in the middle. Fantastic location because, all the borders have these other amazing destinations, countries.
Is Switzerland part of the EU setup?
Yes.
It does. Okay, I just...
Yes.
I know.
I believe it is.
I'm going to hit you with some...
I think so.
I'm going to hit you with some newbie questions because, again, some of them are newbie to me, but also our agents out there may not know, and because there are certain exceptions. Well, I guess it's really pretty much all Western Europe is EU, including the Scandinavian countries, correct?
Yeah.
And or Schengen as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the Shenzhen.
Shenzhen,
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means once you enter one of the Shenzhen countries, you're in Europe proper, or I get all those countries that are part of it, which is generally speaking Western Europe, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, right. So how do you get to Switzerland? If you're flying into Europe for the first time, you're not in Europe, because obviously the answer to that would be predominantly rail would be the way into Switzerland.
Yep.
But coming from North America, how do you get to Switzerland? Are there direct flights?
Yeah, there are, sort of. Yes, there are. There definitely are. There definitely are. Into either Geneva or Zurich. They're the main two, really. Zurich has the most.
Okay.
Or you can come in via another place as well. So you could do a direct flight to, say, somewhere like Frankfurt, which is what I did. So based in Vancouver, I did Vancouver, Frankfurt, and I connected
That's a long
Frankfurt.
flight, isn't it?
It is pretty long.
What was Vancouver, Frankfurt?
It was 9 hours.
9 hours. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
9.5 hours. So
Right, okay.
it was pretty good. And, used points and was upgraded to, went up
were you?
in business class
nice.
on Lufthansa, the very top, actually. One of the 747s. They still have those.
Okay, yeah.
Right up the top in
like
business
the
class.
747s.
Yeah, it was good. It was great flight. But then connecting to Geneva straight after that is what we did. But there's so many ways you can come into Switzerland.
Would it be worth? Okay, so based on what you just said there, you can obviously fly into Switzerland to spend all your time in Switzerland, which is what you did on your recent trip. You were focused on Switzerland, or you did some other?
For the most part, that was the focus.
Right.
It was to come in to Switzerland first, and then to come out of London, because
Right.
I always like to include London at one end, and I have friends there, and I love London.
Well, that was my question. So basically, with any European country, really, but obviously today's subject matter, Switzerland, you could fly into Frankfurt and/or London or anywhere, spend some time there pre or post Switzerland, and then
Totally.
Well, you could fly in directly, but really, train would be, at least from continental Europe, train's the way to get in.
Train it definitely is. I mean, I could have trained it from Frankfurt. I could have trained it from Munich. There's tons of points where you can fly into Germany and Paris. So we went to Paris actually after Switzerland anyway, and then over to London.
Okay.
So via Strasbourg to Paris, but that's another story. We're talking about Switzerland.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
yes.
so on that note then, because again, we've just pointed out very obviously that, Switzerland's a great combination with any other European country. If you were to focus wholly and solely on Switzerland, though, how long should you dedicate to a comprehensive... Okay, let me answer this two ways. How long should you dedicate to a good first taste overall experience, and then how long should you dedicate for a comprehensive experience in Switzerland?
Wow. A week would be minimum to just have your first taste of it, in my opinion, because that would include city stays plus mountain excursions, lakes. Because that's the thing about Switzerland; it has so much in this, and it's kind of a small area, but there's so much to do and so many different parts of it. Mm-hmm. So I'd say a week, but maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks to see everything.
3 or 4 weeks.
Definitely.
Because you just said it's a small country.
It is.
Geographically compared to its neighbours.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually the third time now I've gone in, I think 4 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
And each time it's somewhere different. And each time I think, oh, wow, now next time. Now I'm already thinking about next time.
Yeah, right.
So I haven't done Interlaken. I haven't done the Jungfraujoch, which is the largest mountain in the area. But I've done all the other ones. There's so many excursions. There's so many things to do.
That's surprising. Well, I shouldn't say it's surprising, because really any country you should spend extended periods of time. Yeah. But again, most people, if you don't know continental Europe in detail like you do, you look at a map in Switzerland, as we just said, is small, comparatively speaking. So you'd think you could knock it off in a shorter period of time than 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. But you're obviously proving that. And
some people could try. I mean, Zermatt, for one example, is right on the other side of Switzerland, on the east side. Mm-hmm. Zermatt, you wouldn't want to go for one night, because you want to see the Matterhorn, the one that's on the Toblerone chocolate, right? Yeah. So if you're going there for that purpose, what if the weather's not great and you go there for one night?
And you miss the
and
miss the
I
sighting.
had that happen.
Okay.
And so some people that I went and met there actually didn't get to see the Matterhorn, which was the whole reason they went there in the first place, because they didn't spend long enough. And weather happens. It's a mountainous region. It changes all the time.
So Jason's got maps here, which for those listening, you obviously won't see me staring at, but I'm looking at it now, and that leads to my next question. You said the magic word, which is my question. It's a mountainous country. Swiss Alps obviously are world famous, so therefore any mountain-based activity, you allow for mountain weather, which is unpredictable even in the best of times. So that's a good point. So without stating the obvious, the times to go, there's summer and there's winter, generally speaking, for all of Europe, but Switzerland, world famous for its skiing, so obviously winter time, a lot of people won't go to Europe in winter because it's too cold to do anything, but obviously Switzerland has the outdoor attitude, lifestyle, as well as the skiing. So obviously winter is as good a time to go if that's your thing.
Yeah, if that's
skiing
your thing.
And alpine stuff, yeah.
Or even not skiing. If you just like going up gondolas and cogwheel railways, and there's so many that they're actually open. Most of them are open 365 days of the year. Okay. Or they're closed for Christmas, that kind of thing. Yeah. Even through the winter. So their winters are not as harsh as a Canada winter is, by the way. Yeah. So they're really not. I mean, I've looked at average weather. Just remember, listening
audience, those in Canada. Jason comes from Vancouver. So
no, I'm talking
he
about...
He doesn't know Canadian winters.
I'm talking about Alberta or anywhere, actually, east of BC. But because I have lived there as well.
Oh, okay.
I lived in Edmonton for a little while. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, you wouldn't be getting those really, really cold temperatures. And I've looked at even maybe moving to one of these towns and looked at their average, and that's Engelberg. Which
Living there?
Which we've talked to before. Like in the future, there's a place like Engelberg, which is Mount Titlis. It's at the bottom of Mount Titlis. Love that one. We could talk about this for a while, but I don't think we will. But that's an hour and a half from Zurich by train. It was actually close to Lucerne where I went on this trip as well. And I didn't realize it was as close to Lucerne. So I was even tempted to go there because I was there in Lucerne. I wanted to go there again. But the weather for that is actually a lot more temperate than it is in Canada. So in the middle of winter.
So for the average traveller, average globetrotter hanging over there, obviously summer would be the time we would suggest you go, okay? Is Switzerland in peak season, which is generally summertime, as crazy busy as the rest of Europe is? So if someone comes to one of our destination specialists and says, I'm looking for a country without all the crazy crowds of, say, Paris and Rome, is Switzerland one you would suggest they consider?
Definitely better than those other countries,
right, okay.
Yes. But I still would say that the middle of summer is not a time I would go. I wouldn't go June, July, August, personally.
Is that because of weather and or crowds? Or both?
It's both.
Yeah.
Weather not so much because it doesn't get that hot in Switzerland either. But crowds as well, because there are things like you wait for going up on these funicular railway. I love to say funicular. You wait for that, or you wait for the cogwheel railway, and sometimes they only go every 30 minutes. So you're kind of waiting for that, or a boat trip connection, which is what I did on my last visit there. So you get a boat to where the mountain is, and then you come back via a train, that kind of thing. There are timetables and the way it fits. So often you've got to wait.
I guess these timetables are very punctual, very Swiss-oriented.
Oh, very much so. And there's about 5 apps that you need to sort of work out how to do it. This is why you need a Goway specialist, like those that are listening in, to tell you this is how you work it.
Right.
Because Switzerland is one of the hardest countries to sell. And even to visit, I would say, in some way.
Why sell?
Because if you haven't been there, it's a hard one to sell because there's so many bits and pieces. There's so many moving parts with the railway connect. Like I just said, with the boats to one part of where a gondola will go up. And then you come down by a train, which connects to a train back to your starting point. Like there's all these moving parts. So it's actually really confusing. So if you've got someone to organize it for you, like the experts at Goway, seriously, you really need that. It is probably the hardest place that I've traveled to as far as trying to work yourself where to go and coordinate.
So as Jason mentions, we do have dedicated destination specialists who obviously focus on Europe and who will, for the reasons Jason has mentioned, focus in on Switzerland because of all the Swiss watch-like moving parts. I loved getting all these little not boring puns, but very dad joke puns in there. But again, at the end of the day, Switzerland is a victim of the European concern, summertime crowds, regardless, even though it may not be one of the I wouldn't say it's not a tier 1 destination. It's not the big famous Paris or France, Italy,
Correct.
London, but you still have your crowd issues. But from a weather point of view, it's probably not as hot as other areas.
Definitely.
And as we just discussed, winter would be obviously less crowds, but still a lot to do, particularly if you're alpine based.
I definitely would say spring and fall
I think is pretty much
really
a common
good.
bit of advice.
It is.
For Europe.
But particularly May is. I mean, I went in May, and it's a great time, especially coming out of winter too. So the rivers are flowing and everything is green, and so that's it's a pretty time.
Yeah, spring is always pretty, I think. Anyway, well, again, in Australia, spring is, we have the season spring, but you don't see the changes that we have become used to here in North America, which I find really pretty.
Yep, me too.
I like the short period of fall when the colours are out, then it gets pretty ugly looking. But yeah, so spring anywhere in Europe would be nice because you see that sort of the blooming of flowers and everything else like that. So based on geography and also lifestyle, okay, let me just jump back to a comment you made. You considered, or it's in the back of your mind, maybe moving to Switzerland one day. From a cost of living point of view, not so much living there, but for the traveller, because Europe has a reputation of being more expensive than other choices of destinations around the world. And Switzerland has a reputation of being more expensive than its surrounding neighbours. Is that a fact? Is it true? It is. You're nodding for those.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're using Swiss francs, which is a worse exchange rate.
They don't use euro then?
No, they're using Swiss francs.
So
but they're using Swiss francs.
Can you use the euro?
You can in some places if you're using cash. Yes,
Yeah.
they will take it from what I noticed, but I don't use cash. I use credit for everything.
Credit card, yeah. So you get charged in Swiss francs if you use a credit card.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So everything's listed as in Swiss francs as well. So that is slightly worse exchange rate. So even cross the border to Germany or to France, and you're suddenly on the euro, and it's better exchange rate. So. But having said that, there are things that are included. So there are things like if you take the Swiss Flex Pass, there are mounts. Yes, rail. The rail pass. Well, it's rail and it's also other transport.
So
it's
ferries,
buses, ferries.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do that, they include things like museum passes.
In the Swiss rail.
In the Swiss rail pass.
What do you call it? Flex pass?
Yeah, the Flex Pass. Yeah,
so it
the
includes
Swiss pass.
entrances to museums, certain museums, of course. And,
Yeah. Okay. So museums, mountain excursions, so some of the cogwheel things I've been talking about, and those on some of the mountains are included, not all of them, but it tells you that right in the pass. So you can save money by doing that. They have those things in place. Plus, the other thing is pretty much every city in Switzerland gives you a tourist card if you check into a hotel, if you've booked a hotel.
Yep.
So you just have to have a hotel reservation. When you get to the hotel, you check in, they give you the card. So like in Basel, we had one for Basel. We had one for Lucerne.
Oh, right. So it's for the region of the city
local transport is all included. So people don't realize that. So they think, it's really expensive.
Given to you.
Yeah, it's free because it's part of the hotel.
Oh, okay. So
as long as you have a hotel booking, and that's pretty standard across Switzerland. Switzerland's really good at doing those kind of things for tourists. So it's a great place for tourists because they include those things.
Okay, so without shooting our services in the foot, which we like to recommend private guided services, which I still believe is the best way to see and experience things, but based on what you're telling us, you could forego that and just use the included passes, or with your flex pass.
Yeah.
So I guess that leads to my question. Obviously, it sounds like Switzerland can be a very independent traveler environment, so you can do a lot on your own.
It can, but then on the other side of that, you have to be that kind of person as well, where you're okay to explore on your own, use different apps to find out when the train is departing. Do you need a reservation? When the ferry connects with it. So honestly, I'd say most of our clients, they wouldn't want to be doing that. They come to us for that reason, to plan it.
So to clarify my previous statement, you can still travel independently, but your advice is being there is have Goway, who knows all the ins and outs of when to be here and when to be that. Have them had that pre-booked or pre-arranged for you.
Yes.
So you get the independent travel environment.
Yeah.
But you don't get all the stress of having to work it out with the 5-6 apps when you're there or yourself pre-travel.
Exactly. You're going to get the local transport card anyway, just by having a hotel booked through Goway. So you're going to get that anyway at reception. So if you just decide to go outside and get on the local tram, you can do it. Those are the kind of things that are included. Right. And like I said, only some of the mountain excursions are included. So you still need to have them arranged as well.
Yep.
The Gornergrat Railway, for example, in Zermatt, I heard about that through Goway. That was a way that I could see the Matterhorn from a different angle that other people I ran into in Zermatt didn't know about it because they didn't go through Goway. And that has to be booked separately. You have to. You could do it when you're there, but how do you know about it?
Yeah.
So, and I'm so glad I did because I had the view I wanted of Zermatt. I got a view of it. So that's from an expert telling you this is what you should do to get the best out of your trip.
Yeah, and the average client that we deal with, that you out there deal with, are coming to you because they don't really want to be the 20-year-old who wants to do it independently and save as much money as you can, which, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get us wrong in that respect. But really, the clients are coming to you and in turn to us because they want all, if not 80% of it, done, so they don't have to go through the stress of waking up in the morning, Dan, we've got to book this, we've got to get that, and if it's full, our itinerary's out the window by a day, whatever it may
true.
be.
Plus the cost that you were talking about before as well. I mean, things like having a breakfast included in the hotel booking, which Goway could make sure that they do, right? The breakfasts are so good. In Europe, they're so full, they're so big. They're not like the little dodgy breakfast you get in some of the hotels in North America. Sorry, but, you get the same scrambled eggs and it's a buffet and it's gross. I'm talking from experience. This is actual sit-down breakfast. That can be your main meal for the most of the day if you want. Right. So you're not having to stress about, I'm going to have to spend money on something local, which is expensive. Save that money for the dinner and having a fondue.
Right. So going back to my original question, though, you sort of did concede, though, that Switzerland is probably a bit more expensive than the average European country.
Yeah. I mean, it when it's just purely on the exchange rate, but the fact that so much is included they do that. Others don't do that,
right,
as well as Switzerland does. So I'm a huge supporter of Switzerland, as you can tell.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Okay, so again, looking at another map here, and this is rail focused. We discussed getting into the country is, well, fly or rail, but rail is probably the cheapest. And I saw actually something the other day on Reddit, which I love. It was a comparison of getting around Europe, certain cities. Like Switzerland was part of it, but it was more of a focus on Italy. And I'd say 8 times out of 10, the train was cheaper and faster than flying around. Okay,
totally.
So there's that. So if you're looking at budget, and the trains can be as nice as you want them to be, as in reserve berth, sleeper berth, if it's a more extended trip.
If it's offered, and then there's first class, and then there's economy too. I would always suggest someone look at first class anyway, because you've got more room for your luggage quite often.
Yep.
And there's less people around, especially in the summer as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
A bit of advice. I got my first girlfriend and I, we were traveling through Europe. This is forever ago. And I can't remember where the train ride was. It was an overnighter. We got a sleeping, somehow claimed a cabin to ourselves. And that was a silly move because we were sound asleep and someone came in and stole our stuff.
Oh, heavens.
Right, because if you're with people, it's a bit less of an enticement. 2 people sound asleep. So just be conscious of that. And that was also like 40 years ago. And we're very green travelers at the time, so I didn't know some of the tips and tricks. So I'd assume your first class. So on that note of security, because in all honesty, as an overland guide, I've traveled all the horrible countries, so to speak, and I do that in inverted commas for those who aren't watching. Iran, Pakistan, which I know are going through issues now, but they were safe. I felt welcomed. Only time I ever got ripped off in my 5.5 years as a tour guide traveling was when we'd leave from London heading to the Middle East or India, Pakistan. That area, where I got ripped off? Europe. That's where I got ripped off. So what's the safety like around Switzerland in general? Like being on a train, walking the streets, I would guess from its reputation, it's a very, very safe country.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, it's definitely a lot different than, say, Paris. Not a huge fan of Paris. Shouldn't say that.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty, but whatever. Switzerland's a funny one, though, because it has its French areas, its German areas, and its Italian areas. Okay. So you do get a different feel. Like I felt different about arriving into Geneva and then going to Lausanne, which is very hard to pronounce, by the way. So I went to Lausanne, was where I started off this trip. Lausanne, I think it's spelled.
One S.
Lausanne, or one S.
Lausanne.
Lausanne.
The map that,
and it's so hard because Lucerne is the one we went to after that. So you got, which is Lucerne. So I had to just get used to that. But anyway, it's the French part. So, and I'm terrible with the French, even though I live in Canada. So that the French part had a different feel for me. So Lausanne, while I liked it, I did feel a little bit of an element of maybe not quite as safe as I've felt in Switzerland before. I actually did feel that. The type of people, how friendly they were, it was just slightly off, Montreux was the same. So we did a boat trip. It's right close to Montreux, which is famous because of Chillon Castle, which is the most visited castle in all of Switzerland, by the way. Beautiful, like medieval place, like fantastic place. And then we walked back along to Montreux, and Montreux as well was pretty. It's nice. It's right on Lake Geneva, but I don't know. There's just something about the feeling of that area. I still really loved it, but to answer your question about safety, I still wasn't concerned about it. But it was probably the most concern I had out of all of Switzerland, all the trips I've been, was probably there. But I could be unfair. I could be my bias against French things.
Fair.
The German side, opposite for me. I loved it. I don't know. Lucerne is German. Basel, Engelberg, all of those areas.
So for those who don't know Switzerland geography, and I'm saying this now with authority because I've got a map in front of me, but to Jason's point, the French, German, Italian influences of the country. So Switzerland borders France onto the northeast, south-ish, Italy to the south, and Germany to the north. Sorry, northwest France, Northeast is Germany, Austria to the true northeast. You got Liechtenstein as well, and then to the south is Italy. So that's obviously the makeup you were talking about, the differences in vibe and feel to it all. So again, looking at your map that you've given me here, the rail map, the obvious recommendation to get around Switzerland, be it in your 1 week or your 3 weeks, would be rail for the most part, with some lake ferries cruising, and bus here and there. Is that fair?
Yeah. You know what? Self-drive's not too bad either.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To be honest, their road system is amazing, and some of the roads are just stunning. So self-drive would be something that I would look at in the future. But to be honest, then you don't have to worry about parking. Rail is the best, because the rail stations are everywhere and in the middle of the towns and the cities, and it's easy to get to them. And so no, I'd still say rail. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I dealt with Latin forever and a day, and I went when we opened up our Scandinavian product. I went over there to do some sort of research, and of course it's Europe, and I'm so Latin focused when I get off in when I first land. Was Oslo. Took the train connector in, which was amazing. Wi-Fi, neat, on time, beautiful. Got to the main railway station, and it was just weird in that everything was Europe, as in everything was organised, neat, ordered. Crazy Europe, like people everywhere. But you could walk to all the hotels are generally in or around your train stations and stuff like that. So it's
true.
Going back to self-directed and getting around on your own using public transport. It's very, very, very easy. So getting around Switzerland by train, obviously, but there are also some famous rail journeys within Switzerland, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Can you not name or let us know, is probably the way of putting it, let's say the top 3 and how long you take to do each one and what's so beautiful about them?
Yeah, I mean, there's you put me on the spot with that one. There's the Berliner Express. There's there's one that starts with a G, and I've forgotten the name.
The Glacier Express.
Well, the Glacier Express I was going to mention anyway, because that's the one I did. So I haven't done any of them except Glacier Express.
Oh, you've only done the one.
Yeah,
okay.
and that which was great. Yeah, they're a little bit more deluxe. It's like a first class train, more deluxe, got history behind it.
Are these like a day tour that you loop, or are they actually like a connecting between A and B?
Yeah, they're like
or a bit of both.
Yeah, it could be a bit of both, really, but most people would do it in one direction. It's like taking a train.
Right. So
So the Glacier Express, funny enough, you could actually, if you don't get a reservation on Glacier Express, some of them are hard to get reservations. It's good to book early when you can, an actual seat reservation. Then you can just get the regular train that does the same line.
Same line, right.
So you see the same things, and you're just on a regular train. So it's not the end of the world if you think, oh, I can't get a reservation for Glacier Express. They're just in pretty areas, and they've created these really nice looking trains. Yeah, it's just, and they include meals and things like that kind of thing.
Right. So again, it's not like there's a famous one. I'm going to test my memory here. I've forgotten its name already. Out of Bergen in Norway.
Yes, I know the one you mean too.
Yeah, I've forgotten its name, but that's really. It's a train ride program. Like you can use it to connect between things, but it's really for the tourists. They go out of Bergen. The name, it's killing me too. You do the train ride and you return to Bergen. That's your sort of day trip there. So you're saying that the trains in Switzerland, for the most part, it's just it's part of the train line, an A to B to C to D. But if you buy the right class of ticket, as you say, you get reserved seating, your meals, and some history, guided narration as you're going through.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah. I mean, the Glacier Express didn't have much of that. I was a bit surprised to be to be honest. It's just a pretty train, and listen, it was cloudy, it rained the whole time, so I didn't really see much. Right. So, but I could imagine it would be great. Yeah, those are even included on the Swiss passes, by the way. So the Glacier Express is included as the train journey, but you have to buy your reservations separately.
Gotcha.
So that's what's not included.
So it's like an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
You can use it, but you're not assured of using it unless you buy a reservation separately. Okay. Yeah, which we would tell people how that works if they want to do it. But all I'm saying is a lot of people just think, oh, I have to go to Switzerland. I have to do the Glacier Express or the Berliner Express, the Gotthard and all of those. But really, yes, they're fantastic. But if you don't get on them, it's not the end of the world. Just get a regular train. It still does the same area.
Right.
So... yeah, it's just, there's so many options.
But again, if you come through Goway, work with our destination specialist, and you book far enough ahead, which is always key, we can get those confirmed. Let's use our terminology here. Get that confirmed upgrade on the rail journey of your choice with your reserve seating and the meals and everything that goes with us. On the Flexi Pass, and like the ones you get at the hotel, they're given to you when you make your hotel reservations through Goway, of course. But the Flexi Pass rail thing, is it like, again, I haven't been in Europe for a long time. It was like the Euro rail, where you get different levels of Euro rail. Like this will give you 2 countries or 6 journeys, or whatever it was. Is the Flexi Pass structured the similar way? There are different levels of it?
Yes and no. There's either a continuation one like they do with the Eurail ones, Rail Europe. So continuation as in you're going to buy 5 days and you're going to go every day. Right, you're going to use it every day. Or you do the Flex. This is why I'm mentioning Flex. Is because I did the Flex because I wanted it on the 3rd day and the 6th day. And, that's when I would actually start, I would actually lock it in that was the day I was using. Right. But even that is really hard. So I'm not saying this is for everybody. So we can book, the actual point-to-point rail. Because if you miss out, so really quick funny story on the way in. This is on the way up to Pilatus, the mountain in Lucerne. You probably don't say it that way, Pilatus, but I like to say it that way.
It sounds Greek almost, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So you're supposed to get a cruise to the first part where the cogwheel railway is, and it's so we missed the ferry part of it, but there's a backup. You can do the train instead, but the train, we hadn't factored that in to nominate that as a day that we were using.
Right.
So we got on the train, realized, we don't have this included. So instead, I just used an app and I bought a ticket when the train had started, like a minute in. Yeah. The conductor came around and said, I can see that you started this once it began. It's a €200 fine. And that was euro, which was interesting. Yeah. Or was it Swiss franc? No, it was Swiss francs, actually. Okay. She said 200 Swiss francs, which is 400 Canadian or something.
Wow.
So I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm so sorry. We were supposed to get the ferry. And I gave this big story. I got away with it. So that was good. But the point is like, you got to be careful with this stuff.
So again, as a general statement too, rules and regulations will be followed very strictly in Switzerland, be it a train thing or littering or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's so, but in a way though, that's great too because it's so open as well. Like sometimes you won't even have a conductor checking, but you just don't know. That one time you got a conductor, which is what happened to me. Yeah. I'll be honest, I saw the conductor coming, thought, oh crap, and it was only a 20-minute train journey to get where the start of the mountain is, Pilatus, and I thought maybe I can get away with not doing it. And I saw the conductor, so I'm like, oh, quick,
Swiss rules.
And then they came up, but they knew, they could see it said the time, so you do need to be careful of that. So play by the rules if you can.
Yeah, of course.
But it is very easy, the way that you can get on a train and move around and things like that.
Okay, so it sounds like getting around Switzerland, the infrastructure is there to do it almost in any combination you want. But by that nature, it's complicated to piece it together.
Yeah.
As you're saying. So therefore, speak to the Goway destination specialist. And it sounds like also you either need to know you're going to be flexible yourself, or if you lock it in, you need to lock it in. And like, if you get the train booked Flex Pass every 3rd day, you need to travel every 3rd day, because if you don't, then you either have to buy upgraded tickets or extra tickets, correct? In general terms.
Yeah, you could do 2 days in a row, but that could be 2 of your 6 days and then have a gap of 2 more days or 3 days or whatever.
But again, you need to know your itinerary, unless you just want to go totally as is, but again, then you need to know when this boat leaves to hit with this cog rail, to hit with this.
You're kind of on your own really with that stuff, and it's a lot to plan. It's a lot, and I travel all the time, so I would love it if someone actually did that for me and said, "This is the train you're getting on. This is what time it leaves." Blah blah blah, which is what we would do. For people, so because Switzerland can be really confusing. There's cable cars everywhere too, so it's cable cars as well. Right. And in fact, to get to certain parts, you can only go by cable car. There was cable car before there was anything else in Switzerland. That's how all the farmers used to get around.
Really?
So years, like 150 years, I think it's been in existence. Okay. So it was the only way getting around.
Okay, then. So let's get back to some nuts and bolts for destination specialists out there. What are the big highlights? If someone's going to Switzerland, why is our travel partner out there recommending Switzerland, or what is known in Switzerland to see? You mentioned the Matterhorn, you mentioned Lucerne, Lake Geneva. Sort of have cash calls of their own. The skiing, of course, goes its own fame. But what are the highlights that you would pitch to someone to go and see Switzerland? Is it culture? Is it wildlife? Is it nature? Is it adventure? Is it climbing the Matterhorn? Is it just seeing it? Is it singing?
God, there's so much
sound of music from the top of a. Well, that's actually Austria.
That's Austria.
That's
Austria.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's on the border. It's on the border.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you said that because I was just talking to Bruce, the owner of the company, just a minute ago because I'm here in Toronto visiting, and he and I told him about Switzerland. He said, "Did you do any yodeling?" And I said, "I think that's Austria. I'm pretty sure."
Yeah,
I said, "We could probably use that in Switzerland too." And he laughed, and it's funny that you just mentioned it, and he did as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I yodeled at some even though it wasn't Austria. The cows in Switzerland are the happiest cows in the world. They're known to be that. Apparently, that's what they say in Switzerland. That our cows are the happiest, and you hear those. So for me, the biggest thing for me is that is part of it, to be honest. The cows sounds ridiculous, but hiking. I love hiking, and you can do it at different levels too. So there's another, as an example, Rigi is one of the other mountains right in Lucerne. So there's actually 3. This is what I mean about spending the time. It took all day to do Pilatus. And then Rigi was the next day. That's already 3 nights to have 2 full days. Then I still haven't seen much of Lucerne itself. So, I mean, you could have a week in Lucerne alone. This is just one part of Switzerland. So Rigi we would get the railway up right to the top and then hike down one station. We made that decision when we got there because we thought, we can do this hike. We can do this. Doesn't seem too hard because we went past it in the train. Hike down a station and then catch the cable cars down. Those kind of things I love about Switzerland. You can make these decisions based on, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to hike this bit. I'm going to look at some cows here. Or I'm just going to do the cable car because I'm tired. Like, you have options. That's what Switzerland's why it's so amazing. And then lakes and it's just green and it's friendly and the food's good, and I like sausages. I like the fondue. Their beer's good.
So I guess because you mentioned before the French, Italian, German influences, you've got that from a culinary and a cultural aspect as well, depending which part of Switzerland.
Yeah, definitely.
You're seeing a bit of Germany, a bit of France, a bit of Italy as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had crepes in Lausanne and Montreux. Like, we saw quite a bit of that, like the French sort of style crepes and things. And then you're in Basel or Lucerne, and you've got yourself a good wiener. Sorry, those sausages, bratwurst and so on. So it's great. Plus the fact that Switzerland, I have to mention this, the main reason for going 2 years in a row was because of the Eurovision Song Contest. Last year I was in Sweden. I had to mention this. I was in Malmo, Sweden, went to see it for the first time ever. Switzerland was my favorite song. I'm not just saying that. It won last year, so we decided that whoever won, we would go to that country. It happened to be Switzerland.
Who won this year?
So this year was Austria.
Are you going to Austria next
Funny
year?
enough. It's up in the air at the moment. Okay. I'm not sure because I've been to the places where it's probably going to be in Austria. Although it was Basel. So Basel was the winning city in Switzerland. So we'd been to Basel, but I just wanted to go, and my sister came over from Australia. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the point of it was, Basel as well. Basel has these trams and everything else, and the whole vibe of the place in Switzerland compared to, sorry for anyone that's listening that's from Sweden, but Malmo, that wasn't great. It was just a lack of atmosphere. They didn't have it set up.
We are talking the
Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, I'm not talking
countries.
about the place itself. Well, not really talking about the place itself.
Yeah.
Malmo was actually really interesting, but there was also some political things going on at the time, and there were some demonstrations. But all I'm really saying is that Switzerland is so organized, and when they do an event, it's amazing. Good. And there's a bunch of events in Switzerland as well,
so
right through the year.
So that would lead to obviously Switzerland being a good groups destination because it's set up, structured for events in general.
Definitely. And actually, even right at the top of Rigi, the one I mentioned. So Rigi was completely cloud, didn't see anything. Unfortunately, but it didn't matter because I could hear the cows with their bells, which is one of the best things about Switzerland, hearing the bells in the distance. I even just recorded that so I could fall asleep to that. Yeah, I'm a bit weird. But at the top of Rigi, there was this big, huge entertainment center, 4 groups set up.
Oh, okay.
Like in the middle of nowhere, but right on the train line at the top of this mountain. I thought, what is? I was really shocked by that. So,
so obviously groups is a good thing. Yeah, Switzerland is a good destination for groups. So let me go back and dumb it down a bit in a comparison level. So, if people think of England, they're thinking of the Tower of London, Parliament House, Stonehenge, Buckingham Palace, big sites. Paris, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, or Paris in general itself, Berlin, so on and so forth. So what are some of the, just name 5 big things that people would know or should know about Switzerland to go and see?
I'd say definitely Matterhorn in Zermatt. The Glacier Paradise at the top of Zermatt is amazing. In Engelberg, actually, Titlis, not that that would be a top 5, but they have the only revolving cable car, a gondola actually, so it spins at the top above a glacier, so that's kind of cool. They have the world's best things, like they have the oldest cogwheel railway, they have the steepest railway, those kind of things. I would say those kind of attractions, if you like, or those natural attractions is what the biggest thing is for me. The way you get around, I'd say getting an e-bike in different towns, which I've done a couple of times now in places like Basel. It's easy to get e-bikes. So, it's electronic. You don't really have to pedal. Those kind of things. But so Zurich, everyone knows Zurich's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's there's so much. I mean, everywhere is such a great place. The lakes, the fact that you can be out on the lake and the mountains are surrounding you. And
so is Switzerland... And again, when I say this or ask this question, I don't mean that's the only thing you can do. And my word is predominantly an outdoor active destination.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. But even if it's like raining the whole time, like it was in one of the places when we went to Rigi, it doesn't matter because it's the feel of the place. There is a lot of history as well, though. There's a lot of medieval castles.
Okay, that was my next question, because people who do Europe, it's like another castle, another church. If people are into churches and castles, does Switzerland have that? I think you just answered it for me. Does it have that history that other European countries are famous for?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, even in, I just remembered in Lucerne, there's the wooden bridge. It's like this oldest wooden bridge, and it's very famous in Lucerne. But it's got artwork in it. So you're walking along it, and it's actual artwork, and you're outside. Like, it's amazing. Yeah, right. So that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's history all over the place. But the fact that you have got a French area, a German area, an Italian area, that's what the beauty is for me as well. It's not just the scenery, but it's also that you can be in 3 different countries in one country, essentially. I
was going to say 4 countries in one, because it's Switzerland. It is the country. Right. But you've got the French, the German, and the Italian influences. Yep. So you could do just Switzerland and get a flavour of those other 3
in fact, they brought in a new cable car in Zermatt that I wasn't able to do last year because it wasn't just there in time for that. But you go up to the top Glacier Paradise I mentioned.
I think you mentioned this, and you look into France or something like that?
You go into Italy. So you can actually go to Italy for lunch. It goes over the other side of the mountain, and then you can come back. Right. So that's kind of cool. And they actually have a couple of things set up like that now too. So, yeah.
Now, as you said earlier, like, I love driving around countries. This sounds, and you did say it's a good self-drive country. Yep. So based on the scenery you're describing or intimating, that this would be an amazing place to self-drive if you're not fussed about the parking issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one for me because I also like to self-drive as well. Yeah, okay. But the hard thing is I love the trains, and I love the trains in Switzerland especially. So, I kind of like the feeling of being in first-class trains. Sorry, but I just love it. But this trip, I have to say that I looked at some of where the highways were and how clean they were and where they were positioned. And some of them were even positioned in better locations than the trains were. Around Montreux, in Lake Geneva, I looked up and I saw, wow, I could see it's going through all these mountain ranges and these hills, and it looked like a stunning drive. Yeah. But I want to do that too, but I don't know. I want the train. I want to drive. I want to do everything.
Right. Yeah. So that would go back to your comment before about 3 or 4 weeks in the country. You could do a combination of obviously self-driving and trains.
You really could.
And really cable cars and cog railways.
There's so much. I mean, that's what I mean. Lucerne itself had 3 different mountains. We got 2 of them, 3 main ones. I got 2 of them. I could have had 3 full days plus some time in Lucerne. That's a week. That's in one place in Switzerland. Yeah. One. And in Basel, you could spend 3 days in it easy. Right. And you're at the corner of 3 different countries there, and that's another story.
That's where I think Switzerland may have, it's probably a bad choice of word, but advantage over some of the other countries in that it sits amongst them in the heart, like surrounded by. It has the influences of, again, France, Italy, and Germany. Mm-hmm. You can quite easily, like in most of Europe, because it's so small, you can literally go over the Alps into Italy for lunch and come back. So it sounds like it's got, again, a bigger bang for it's more expensive. But because you did admit that it's probably a bit more expensive than surrounding neighbourhoods. It's a very active and outgoing country from what to see and do, because everything you've mentioned primarily is outside nature, from cows to mountains to lakes to cable cars stuff, which is really, you seeing the surroundings. But at the same time, it has the expected European history, because it is also right in the middle of 4 or 5 countries around it. So it sounds like it's got like a lot in a very small package, which is a very well used trope, but I think it's justified in this case. So just to go back over some basics. So getting there are direct flights in, but really probably combining with another country is probably an easy way to set up your flights, particularly from North America, though there are direct. It's part of the euro, but it's primarily priced in Swiss francs.
Yep.
Okay. You don't need visas if you're on a US or Canadian passport.
Mm-hmm. At the moment.
At the moment.
That's going to change next year.
Oh, that's with the...
just the ET... what is it?
I think it's
ETA?
ETIAS.
ETIAS?
ETIAS.
Oh, that one.
And it's not really a visa. It's more of a security... when it was first introduced almost 2 years ago, it said it was coming in 6 months, but it's...
Yeah, it got delayed,
It was presented, because I did a little video, this is what it will be, and we shelved it because it kept getting delayed. But originally, now this may have changed, it was really a security check, not so much a visa.
Yeah.
But it's good for all the European...
Correct. Yeah, the
EU
UK has theirs now, so I had to do a UK one.
The UK has one already?
Yeah. So it's just a UK ETA app. It's actually called that.
Right.
I have that still on my phone, and it was really easy, and I got approved right away.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
So it's like the Australian thing.
Sorry.
It's like the Australian visa.
Yes.
It's not technically a visa. It's just this ETA thing.
You pay like
$20 or whatever it may be. And
€7-10 or something.
Okay, so that's coming in for them. Okay,
Yeah.
and anything else from a meat and potato aspect that our agents out there should know about?
Well, their meat and potatoes are fantastic in Switzerland.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
You can take that question literally.
No, actually, I mean, really, and that's the thing. Yeah, the food is great. I mean, we were talking about cost before and how expensive it is. It's not as expensive as Denmark, by the way. So the Danish kroner, whew. So that trip, going across to Malmo was cheaper because they were using euros, and then in Denmark they were using the kroner. So anyway, and then there's things you can buy there as well. Like you can go to a little hot dog stand if you don't want a big full meal in Switzerland. You can just go and go to a 7-Eleven or something. I forgot what they're called, co-ops, or I think they're called, and you just go and grab something from there if you're really cheap.
If you're really cheap,
like me.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Swiss chocolate, is it as prevalent as people would expect it to be? Because everyone talks about Swiss chocolate.
Yeah, it is. And actually, Lausanne there was a tour I was offered. I was sponsored a little bit by Switzerland. They're fantastic. They give me things when they know I'm going there because they know I promote like this.
Yeah.
There is that's quite a chocolate place, and they have museums everywhere for chocolate, and I just don't do chocolate because I kind of break out, and it's just.
But it's there,
but it's everywhere. Yeah, that's
not some fallacy, some marketing thing.
That's
something that,
no, definitely not.
Okay, Swiss Army knives.
Yeah.
Can you actually buy a Swiss Army knife in Switzerland?
Yes, you absolutely can. Okay. Yep, I saw a lot of them. There's tons of that. The FIFA Museum is in Zurich.
Okay.
So is the world's Olympic thing.
Olympic thing?
I should have had this prepared.
Olympic Museum, or
it's in Lucerne.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I didn't even go to that. I didn't have time. Like I said before, you go to the mountains, you don't have enough time. But there's so many things like that.
What about
there really is.
Watches? Swiss watches.
Watches are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. There's a lot of stores like that. Again, I'm cheap, so I didn't go in.
So, on that point, so we just mentioned 3 things you can buy: chocolate, a Swiss knife if you really wanted one, or a watch. Is Switzerland famous for anything else from a souvenir point of view?
Yeah, I'd say cowbells. Leather, backpacks, lots of caps. I've got some with me today. I'm obsessed with that. I love all that. They just changed their logo, Switzerland as well, like the tourism one. That looks really cool. Cowbells though. love the cowbell. They're all different sounding ones.
You bought cowbells, or you haven't bought any?
I actually did buy one. Yes,
You bought one? Okay.
the lower, the bassier sound ones.
Okay.
Yeah. I just love. I don't know why.
Well, I'm sure you can buy a cow to go with it out in Vancouver somewhere.
Probably they're not the same. They're not as happy. Remember, they're happier in Switzerland.
Buy one of those big Alberta beef cows.
That's true. I love Alberta
I'm
beef.
not sure
though.
if your condo's got enough room for one of those big boys, but
No, true.
or girls, but it's the case may be. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. Anything else again, we just talked some meat and potatoes, literally and metaphorically, about Switzerland. Is there anything else you would like to let our listening audience know? Again, from maybe a sales tip, though we did touch on a lot of ins and outs and how to work around it, but any sales tips, things to be aware of, advice, anything to, basically wrap this up with?
I'd say definitely look at booking ahead, looking at actually locking in certain journeys that you definitely want to do. Try to avoid the summer, the middle of the summer if you can, the June, July, August, like I mentioned. Yep. One thing I forgot to talk about was look for, when you're in these places in Switzerland, they all have, there are so many rooftop bars, so many. So I've gotten into the habit now of starting to look for those, and you get the best views, and you can look for happy hours. They do have happy hours in Switzerland too, which is great. So you save a bit of money.
Sorry to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
Is Switzerland a country where you could go to like just party hard if that was a focus of your itinerary, or if not the entire itinerary? Are there nightclubs as an extension to that? Not that the LGBTQ plus community are the only ones that party, but is it an LGBTQ plus safe country to travel in? Can you party be part of that community or not?
I don't find it a big party place at all.
Okay.
But there is tons of pubs, as the pub culture is there.
So it's more of a pub culture.
Yeah, that's what I found. I mean, Zurich, you're going to find a bit more of that in Geneva because they're the big cities.
Yep.
Basel, I remember, had one little LGBTQ place that was cute, nice. Yeah. But it's not really known for that because you're accepted anywhere, so they don't really feel like they need to have that. I think that's it's such an accepted place to be in.
It's basically not a thing.
It's not really a thing. So you just go to a pub and you'll be fine, kind of thing. So but definitely some nightclubs in the bigger cities. People do go out late in Europe, so they start later, and I was probably in bed by then, so I don't even know.
But again, it's not like if you think of Greece or Spain, and I'm not talking the gay community. I'm just talking in general. Mm-hmm. Like Spain has areas which are party focused. Greece has, even Italy has, but Switzerland's more of that pub, late dining vibe.
Yes,
in general. Again, general sweeping terms.
100%.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I did interrupt you. Anything else you were chatting about? So go, book early. Try and avoid the height of summer for sure.
Yeah.
Let one of our destination specialists help you with the construction of your itinerary, because it's coming out very clearly to me that, like Goway, we customize, that's what we do, but I think Switzerland is where you really need the skill of someone who knows all these moving parts to get back to the pun of the Swiss watch concept here. Mm-hmm. It's all got to lock in together so you don't have hiccups while you're there, and that's the last thing you want. Yeah,
I'd say don't be obsessed again about the fact that you're not going to get on the Glacier Express, or because a lot of people don't get a reservation on that. Right. Don't let that stop you from not traveling to Switzerland, because you can still do the line and still see the scenery. Right. So. But I mean, if you're a big train buff and you really want that name train experience, then book early. For sure. There's still so much for me that I haven't been to as well. I will go back again. There's still mountains I haven't seen. But
rivers to ford, mountains to climb.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a fantastic place. Yeah. I'd say do it. Roger Federer's from there. Is my favorite tennis player. His face is kind of in a lot of places too.
I bet he is,
when you arrive at the airport and you see his face everywhere, and so they're all proud of him.
I bet they are. Yeah, because I think he's probably there again.
It's from Basel actually, so Basel, his face is everywhere.
Again, we'll sign off with this. Is he their main sport export outside of probably footballers, soccer players, which I know nothing about, but sort of more widely known sports is Roger Federer be it?
It's all about Federer. Yeah. At the moment, and the fact they won the Eurovision Song Contest last year. I know no one cares about that in North America, but it is it is the world's largest singing contest.
I think you'd be surprised how many listeners out there, maybe not quite as obsessed as yourself, but will be into it. But to your point, It is a very, very famous song contest. I think almost every country in the world has entries. Australia does.
Yeah, which is weird.
it is
Celine
weird, but
Dion won the
Yes,
contest
yeah.
for
those that know,
Switzerland.
she's
She
French.
sung for Switzerland.
Yep, French-Canadian, I should
Way
say.
back. I mean, ABBA, that's how they started. So it's huge. But, I mean, you can even follow that around each year and just go to a different country like I'm thinking of doing.
Probably going to do.
I've done two in a row now.
So on that note, we want to thank our Eurovision Song Contest freak here, Jason, who's going to groupie at around Europe for the next 10 years or so. But also, obviously, for his expertise and insight into Switzerland. It's not just because he works in the industry, it's because he's been there, and you can tell, I believe you can through his passion, that it's probably one of his more favourite countries. Because you travel a fair bit over the years.
Yeah. I mean, I love you. I love everything. I love it. I love everywhere.
Do you have a country count? Do you keep track of how many countries?
Not like you do, because I know you love to talk about yours. I should say I did look at that recently because I heard you were 98 or something.
90, I think 98. I hit
Yeah,
just
I think
recently.
you're getting close. I think I'm about 55 or 60ish.
So, that's pretty impressive in itself.
And I haven't been to the African continent, so that takes a lot out. And so there's a few places I haven't been to, but yeah.
Again, just to highlight your knowledge of Europe. Europe's been sort of one of your focal areas of travel through your life.
Yeah, and Asia as well.
Oh, yeah, you've done a lot of
So
Asia?
a bit, yeah, and I come from the South Pacific, so I already grew up with that, so I don't really need to go back to that, in my opinion, even though it's fantastic too. But yeah, Europe is really special. I really, honestly, getting around by trains is just so much easier than being in a car stuck in traffic in Los Angeles, or in Toronto.
I'm with you on that one.
I mean, it's just when you come back from Europe and you're looking at traffic and sitting in a car and the culture being so different without that train setup, and the fact Europe keeps all the old buildings and the architecture, and we didn't really talk about that much, but all the towns in Switzerland have all this amazing architecture, and the buildings are beautiful, and they just keep their history, and it's huge. It's so good. I love it.
And I think that's what a lot of people, if they've never been to Europe before as well, and I forgot this, having just been focused on Latin for so many years, is how Europe maintains and hangs on in a positive way to its history. And even though it's Europe and modern, how different it is to North America in a positive way.
Yeah.
I mean that in all positives. And you can learn a lot, like in travel. I don't have it handy. Actually, let's see if I can bring it up. Maybe we'll finish off with this little quote. It's not about Switzerland per se, but it's about travel. I think it might be good based on your comments just there about the difference and I guess acceptance and or learning. So this is actually Mark Twain. I'll finish up with this. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. So I found that on somewhere on social media, passed it on to my family because we just came back from Africa. And I think key to this, be it Africa, be it South Pacific, be it Asia, be it Switzerland, if you travel, you're going to learn, you're going to broaden your horizons. And it sounds like Switzerland is that little jewel in the middle of many European countries, which will truly open your eyes to many things: French, Italian, German, and of course Swiss. So on that note, thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate you dropping in today on your semi-day off. Sort of a semi-day off, isn't it?
Well, not really.
No, not really. Okay.
No, I'm working.
I take it back. Thanks for being here, Jason, as you're supposed to be.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding. Again, thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Rock on.